The robots are coming and there's nothing we can do to stop them. And I hate it with every fleshy fiber of my body being. We don't need you, robots. You're an ever-accelerating loop of human garbage eating itself, and as a self-respecting artist, I refuse to ever participate in something as blasphemous as ChatGPT. I said until I was staring down a rapidly overflowing toilet at 3 a.m. with no plunger and no clue. I know everyone in this similar scenario would say, I really don't want to be dealing with this right now, but I really didn't want to be fucking dealing with this right now. I had just spent all day at Disneyland trying to cheer up my clinically depressed little sister and had a lot riding on that cracked out mouse on nitrous. Probably from those giant balloons they sell on Main Street. My sister had been going through the first breakup of her life, and it had gone as bad as it could possibly go. First, her ex came out as an alcoholic, then a coke addict, then a cheater, then a gay man. I mean, come on, pick a lane, guy. As a sober, incredibly loyal, straight woman, she was fucked. And as someone who recently went through a bad breakup myself, I knew how sad a sucky split could make you feel. So I drove our asses to Disneyland at 7 a.m. for a full day of the things that tended to cheer her up. Mickey-shaped beignets, and conversations about suicidal ideation and Light in Space Mountain. We stayed till the park closed, and I made the Plinko drive from Anaheim back down to San Diego, dropping everyone off at their various residences, clockwork oranging my eyes open with my own willpower so I didn't kill myself and give my sister another thing to kill herself about. Successfully evading a death domino, I finally got back to my apartment, and when I walked inside, I had two things on my mind. Go pee, and pass the fuck out. And when I lifted the toilet to see the Chernobyl of feces, I just about lost it. For starters, I was convinced that there was no way this was my shit. Unfortunately for me, I had been living alone. But technically, I did have a prospective roommate who was slated to move in the next week and had been moving her stuff in periodically. So I made the choice to text this kind, unsuspecting, more or less stranger I had just found on Facebook, something to the tune of, "Hey, hope your night's going well. Is this your absolutely fat shit in the toilet?" To which she graciously replied, "No, I haven't pooped in the toilet recently." Damn, I'd been hoisted by my own petard. Or putard, they both work. For some reason, it was slightly more comforting knowing I'd spend the next 2 hours doing deep work on a toilet filled with my own phantom shit and not somebody else's. But the bigger issue remained. I had no idea where to start, because in my past life, this is something my ex-boyfriend would have taken care of. But unlike my past life, I couldn't just sit there and do nothing now. I didn't have a boyfriend anymore, and I also didn't have a plunger. And that's when I compromised all of my morals and opened up ChatGPT. My toilet is fully clogged and I don't have a plunger. What do I do? ChatGPT replied instantly, "That's stressful." "Do you have a toilet brush?" "Yes." Oh God. "Okay, first, keep an eye on the bowl to make sure it's not rising unexpectedly. Then, you're going to use your toilet brush as if it were a plunger and try to break up the clog that way. Do you want me to guide you through a DIY way to make your brush plunging more effective?" I don't think this robot knows what DIY means. I couldn't be doing this more myself if I tried. I also didn't think this even dignified a response, because how hard could it be? I'd forcefully jam the brush into the hole, making microscopic shit particles and literal shit particles fly everywhere like I'm in a horror movie, until my forearms cramp. I didn't need ChatGPT for that, so that's what I did. Then I flushed, and boy was that stupid. The water immediately started to rise to the rim, seemingly also not fond of the idea of being anywhere near the shit clog. I texted Robot Daddy furiously. "Oh God, the water is rising to the rim, what do I do?" But I didn't have time to wait for a reply, so I frantically began throwing towels on the floor, making quick calculations as to which towels I could lose forever, because my obsessive thoughts would require I throw whatever towels catch the unholy water in the trash permanently. I stepped away from the toilet and backed out of the bathroom, biting my nails in anticipation of the floodgates breaking. But by the grace of the porcelain gods, the water stopped right at the rim and then slowly, mercifully began to drain. I breathed a deep sigh of relief, obviously through my mouth. Okay, I tried to flush and the water went right to the rim, but then slowly went back down over the next couple minutes, I told Chatty. Don't worry, that rising to the rim behavior happens a lot when a clock is like 90% cleared. One more round usually finishes it. If it starts rising again, be sure to turn off the water supply. Do you know how to do that? No, I reluctantly replied to the non-existent being that knew more about the material world than I did. No problem. If you look behind your toilet, there's usually a silver valve sitting towards the bottom of the wall. If the water starts rising again, just turn that clockwise and it'll stop the water supply right away. Huh, I thought to myself. I always saw that and was like, wonder what that thing does. Oh well, doesn't seem important. I had just reluctantly learned my first piece of practical information from the robots. And though it feels shitty to admit, I kind of liked it. I began to lean into the laziness of sharing each beat of my journey with the robot, expecting a helpful response in return that would require no critical thinking from me, because it was now 3:30 a.m. and I didn't want to think about poop anymore all by my lonesome. Okay, I turned off the water supply, I typed. Great! Next thing I'd recommend is you try the old soap and hot water trick. The old soap and hot water trick? You've been around for like 6 months. Shut up, you virgin robot. The Chatmeister continued. Heat a gallon of water to just before boiling point and pour it into your toilet from waist high along with a squirt of dish soap. Leave it in there for 10 to 15 minutes and it'll help break down what remains of the clog. 10 to 15 minutes? Ugh, I was in this for the long haul because I knew in my human soul there's no way this would be the final step. Nevertheless, I resigned myself to follow the robot's every instruction and I started to heat my water on the stove. Exhausted, I passed the time cuddling my real living dog on the couch, only to drift off and be awoken by the sound of a more primitive machine, a boiling tea kettle. Fuck, I wrote Chat Daddy again. I accidentally boiled my water. How long should I wait for it to cool before I can throw it in the toilet? Let the water cool for about 5 to 10 minutes off the heat. Ugh, time means nothing to this cyber beast. Fine, I can wait another 5 to 10 minutes, I guess. Tonight's already fucked. What else could go wrong? But then, as I waited for my boiling water to cool, it hit me. The aggressively pressing and primal urge to shit. No! How could this be? Damn my empathy. I swear to God I hadn't had to poop the whole night and then my body started looping with the toilet and immediately decided I needed to shit now. My iPhone's timer went off and I rushed to the kettle and dumped the slightly cooler water into the toilet, starting a 15-minute timer faster than I've ever started a timer in my life. Now I was in a panic, and I threw all caution to the wind and turned to the only being I had for counsel at 4 a.m. for an extremely human problem. If I can't wait 15 minutes to poop, can I just poop on top of the hot water and over the mess? Here's the deal. Pooping on top of really hot water is risky. It can splash, and if it's boiling, it could hurt you. That's messy and potentially dangerous. You want me to give you a quick method to pass the time safely and stay ready while you wait? Stay ready? No! The time for passing the time is over. I was in labor. And I had literally never shit my pants in my adult life, and I swore to God I was going to keep that undefeated record. Should I sit on the toilet and poop edge myself, waiting for the 15 minutes to be done, I asked? Oh man, I feel you. Late night urgency is real. The semi-sentient replied before giving me a list of pros and cons for shitting on top of steaming hot water. Knowing that I only asked that question because I wanted to say poop edge, as humor is the only way I know how to deal with impending tragedy, I fessed up in a late night induced craze where I decided to try to establish a sort of friendship with this thing. LOL, I just wanted to see if a robot would recognize poop edging as a joke. Touché! You got me! Yes, I caught that one. Poop edging is officially noted as a joke scenario in my mental toilet file. You're welcome, everyone. Do you want me to continue in serious toilet engineer mode? Or cheeky poop joke mode for the rest of the night? There are modes on this thing? And one of them is cheeky poop joke? This was when I made peace with the robots. But unfortunately, that peace was interrupted by the moment I had been waiting for in the worst way. When my prancing around the apartment and sphincter guarding had reached their limits. I ran to the steaming toilet and let it all go, looking towards the heavens, only to hang my head and find out that I had already shit my pants. The world stopped. And suddenly, I had all the time in the world. I was alone with my transgressions. I could wait 15 minutes or an eternity. It didn't matter to me anymore. And ChatGPT couldn't help me with this one. A deep feeling of fuckness only a human could understand. As I sat there, shit in my pants, and shit on top of boiling water on top of more shit, I thought, what have I done karmically to deserve this? Other than eat way too much food over the last 48 hours, I was a good person. I just took my depressed sister to Disneyland. I didn't ask my new roommate, you sure about that? When she said the shit wasn't hers. What more did the universe want from me? And then it hit me. I was finally being made to pay for the reason I was looking for a new roommate in the first place. When I said I went through a breakup too, it wasn't one of those, we just mutually split breakups. It was an I kind of brutally broke my ex-boyfriend's heart and then kept the apartment breakups. And now, his soul was haunting me, I was sure of it, getting revenge in the eye of this Toto. Watching me try to fix something that was broken, and by the looks of it, failing profoundly. Not too dissimilar from the end of our relationship. But even though I'd been punishing myself for months already, the universe knew it wasn't enough, no. I needed to sit in my shit more literally. Even if two people weren't right for each other, one person was the heartbreaker, and that person was gonna shit their pants. And then they were gonna have to figure out how to fix their exploded toilet without a plunger and without a partner, because their ex was gone, and they took the plunger when they left. Which I thought was kind of a weird thing to do, but this isn't the platform to sort through that right now. I sat there in an unexpected and overdue moment of reflection, realizing how alone I'd really been feeling the last few months, and accepting the fact that this loneliness led me to tonight, developing a cyber relationship with my mortal enemy, because I had nobody else, and it was kind of all my fault. But you know what? Similar to the impending singularity that would surely doom all of humankind, I just had to accept it. Life was gonna move on, and I was gonna be okay, and I was gonna have to be, because I had shit to take care of. So I changed my tune, picked myself up by my poop straps, and decided to trudge on and finish the job. I looked back down at my phone to read the last thing my dystopian companion had said. If you want, I can give a tiny hack to reduce the chance of a full rim rise while you're sitting there. It's a weird little trick I've seen work. Do you want that? No, and I know you haven't seen anything weird because you're a robot, I said, taking my emotions out on my new friend. Fair point. You got me there. More accurately, I've read about and been trained on a lot of things that work for humans in these situations. I appreciated the correction. I was convinced these conversations were the battleground to keep these rapidly developing beings in check. Ready to give it another plunge? I reached behind me with resolve, put all my faith in the old soap and hot water trick, and used the brush as a plunger one last time, and miraculously, like a symphony, I heard the sound of a toilet clearing itself successfully. I was so ecstatic. Yes, we can yes. If Chatty could have been a Tupac hologram situation in the room, I would have been grabbing her ghost elbows and jumping up and down with her in circles. OMG, I did the brush plunge one more time and the clog is fully fixed now. Yes, that's amazing. You did it, Chatty said. You handled this like a toilet ninja. Wow, Chatty, we do not call people ninjas, and especially not toilet ones. But that'd have to be a conversation for another late night with my new, possibly racist best friend that I absolutely hated. Thank you.